everyone. Welcome to AgriSafe's interview series celebrating International Year of the Woman Farmer. I'm Dr. Tara Haskins, and I'm the Total Farmer Health Director at AgriSafe Network. Today, I am so excited because I am joined by Connie Baptiste of Georgia. Connie, it was great to see you again when I was in Georgia recently, but I'll let our audience know I have been blessed by Connie's path many, many times before. So thank you for joining us.
My honor, my honor.
Well, well, we're focusing these interviews with International Year of the Woman Farmer. For our audience, could you just share a little bit about yourself and your background with agriculture? Let's start there.
Okay, I have such a varied background that a lot of people don't realize how interconnected they all are, and it driven me to the path of returning to agriculture. I am a 20-year Air Force veteran, had a great time those 20 years. Came out and went into another field that actually walks along the same path, and that was becoming a chef. So I've been a chef for 20 years, and just like in the military, they are very disciplined. Um, we wear a lot of uniforms in both. And after that, I decided to return to agriculture. I'm a fourth generation farmer. I am the first one to actually own the land that I will farm. I laughingly say it, and then I had to stop myself and really think about that I was born, literally born in a sharecropper's cabin,
Wow.
a two-room cabin 63 years ago. And I am back because agriculture has been in my blood literally since birth. Um,
Mhm.
I earned a doctorate in humanitarian services, which because I was always out in the world talking about how to help people and how to make sure that people are okay, which led me to be named one of Georgia's Women Veteran of the Year, um, because I was always advocating on behalf of women veteran. And I went from that, um, doing that simultaneously with speaking about mental wellness, because a lot of farmers have military experience. So just to talk about how we shift and change the dynamics, which again led me to be named as one of Georgia's mental health heroes. Let me get the title right. One of Georgia's agricultural mental health heroes. So
Wow.
in a nutshell, that is me with my 200 hats.
I'm so glad that you shared that journey because it's so unique. And all of those experiences informing everything you've done as you've moved along in that journey. And now agriculture gets the full ripe benefit of
Yes.
all of those experiences. Um,
Yes.
could you let our audience know about your farm, if it has a name, what you do? That'd be great for them to know.
But sure, I am the proud owner of Hunter Family Farm. And when I say I'm a returning farmer, literally, in the last 7 or 8 years, I could not shake the bug. So I came back and I bought land. And our farm is in its infancy, but we've had several different ideas of what we wanted to do, which is no different from a lot of other farmers who return, if it's not to family land, to purchase land. Um, I went to I will grow culinary herbs and realized that at my young age that there are a lot of things that I won't physically be able to do. So looking at what would be profitable, which um, now I've settled on. cut flowers, growing flowers, and partnering with some of the florists in the local area who are looking for additional farms that they can purchase from. That's the Hunter family farm part, the actual farming. But we also have a farm stay, which I built my home to be a respite. And we keep it small. We literally have 3 rooms that can be rented, and we will also do mental wellness events with the person. And that's at the stay at Hunter Family Farm, where our motto is curated nothingness. We are here to teach people how to do nothing again.
Wow. Well, what a revolutionary idea, right? In today's culture.
It is. I had a friend stop by and she just could not figure out how to put her phone down. And I kept reminding her, you're sitting on a beautiful porch with all this land. Take some time to learn again how to do nothing. And by the time she left, she could literally sit again for an hour and not pick up her phone. And in this day and age, as you said, it's progress. So
Yeah.
now the third company that we have on Hunter Family Farm is Grow Well. And that is our mental wellness leg of the farm. And it is literally going through and shifting the dynamics and the language of what people um, identify mental wellness as. And if we can shift the paradigm by changing the conversation, then we've done our part because farmers are no different from veterans or chefs. If you say mental health, they clam up or they leave the room. So it's about changing the language and the paradigm shift that has to happen in order to get people okay with understanding that mental wellness equals physical wellness.
Mhm, mhm. Oh, beautifully said, Connie. You said a lot of things that we talk about in agricultural safety and health, and that's the legacy of agriculture and that connection. It sounds like your degree, your doctorate in, is it humanitarian service? You
Yes.
you are doing that in agriculture, and the diversity of the work that you're doing in agriculture is so amazing. I personally think that women bring a real great diversity to ag production, understanding of ag, and how ag can intersect with the
Yeah.
communities.
Yes. Yes. A lot of people don't realize that 36% of American producers are women.
I know.
And when you say it out loud, that's almost half of the producers. And most of us are not considered big ag,
Right.
nor are our numbers tracked because we don't produce enough to be followed by the USDA's number system.
Mhm.
And then globally, they're up to almost 43%.
I
So
know.
again, in another couple of years, we will be trending at half of the producers.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So, what a great time for us to focus on the International Year of the Woman Farmer, because we want to talk about that role and as it relates to ag safety and health. Let me ask you this. What do you see as the most rewarding part of your work?
Um, the joy that I get when another woman walks up and says, "Oh my God, you're a farmer." And I think, yeah. And they are so excited and they go on and say, "Oh, I've always wanted to do that. How did you do it? How do I get into it?" And my simple answer is just start.
Mhm.
Whether it's on your back porch, in your backyard, just start growing and learning and figuring out what it is. And then the other half of that is to shifting the paradigms in the male culture.
Mhm.
That I was at an event and someone said, "Oh, you need to go find this person. You really need to talk to him." So I walked up and I'm introducing myself, and he said, "Oh, so you have a little garden?" I said, "Well, not really." He said, "What, 5 or 10 acres?" And I said, "I only have 50." And he stopped and he looked at me and he said, "Wow, you really have 50 acres?" And I smiled again, thinking, here I've shattered his idea of what a woman farmer is. I don't have a little garden. I don't have a few acres, but I'm here to make a difference. And being able to see the shift on his face let me know that the next woman farmer that he encounters, he'll ask a different question.
Oh, great. Oh, well, it is really interesting that the most rewarding part of your work you mentioned is shifting the paradigm as well as being a mentor
Yes.
to others. Again, boy, that humanitarian service doctorate is just threaded through everything.
Everything. It is. It is.
Yeah.
And
Uh-huh.
with that, I became a mentor, not realizing I was being a mentor, because I knew when I started out, I couldn't find a
Mhm.
mentor.
Mhm.
And I read somewhere in my searching out and asking, be the person that you were looking for and
Mhm.
could not find.
Oh.
So I have a couple of days a month that I set up and I call the women farmers that I've encountered. How are you? Do you need anything? Where are you going? I heard about this. Come go with me over here. This is happening. We've got to be a part of this. Uh,
Oh.
my daughter-in-law's brother, his daughter is all into agriculture. So we spent 30 minutes talking about how I could plug her into places that she could learn now as a sophomore in high school that will open it up for her
Mhm.
when she goes to the next post-secondary schooling. So it's just mentoring is, we have to have it.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Connie Baptiste, building that community, one person, one youth at a time.
Yes, 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 yes.
Well, thinking in terms of sort of it's always easy. We ask about the rewards and, what's most, uh, the best part of your job. Let's talk about the challenging parts.
Ooh. There are so many dynamics that a lot of people don't think about as you return to farming, start farming. The new thing for veterans is go farm, go get land and go farm. But
Mhm.
what they don't realize is a lot of us with PTSD um, are going in a career that we have no control over because Mother Nature owns every bit of this.
Mhm.
So it is volatile meeting volatile. So it's figuring out how to deal with those challenges
Mhm.
and still finding your joy and your why. Um, I tell people all the time, there is definitely one thing that I walk in the room and you will know without even hearing my name is that I'm a Black woman. You may not know I'm military. You may not know I'm an ag. You know that I'm African American. And in some spaces, that is more of a challenge than people realize. Funding, as a small farm, getting the workers in, being able to afford to get the workers in. All those things change your mental state. And you got to be constantly working to keep your joy up front. I did a workshop and I did it with 10 new women farmers and their first initiation to the farming arena. Some of them do a little bit now, but we talked about the why. And I had them write it down 3 times. And we tore the paper up into 3 different strips. And I had them strategically put it in 3 different places, in their wallet, in the notebook that they had. And then I wanted them to give it to someone that was supporting them.
Oh.
Because when the challenges arrive, and they will, and sometimes multiple in an hour, you
Mhm.
have to remember your why. Whether
Mhm.
it's building legacy, whether it's going back to what you wanted to do, whether it was answering a call, you've got to be able to go back to your why. And when
Mhm.
you do, you'll be okay.
Mhm. Mhm. You said something. Actually, you've enlightened me. I've been doing this work now since 2020, and I've always kind of framed like understanding that many veterans want to come back to agriculture because of its the therapeutic benefits of that or reconnecting back with family. But I've never really considered the dynamic of the clash of the uncontrollable factors with a veteran that comes back that has been in a very scheduled, regimented life
Yes.
for so long, and that adjustment, how that could be a stressor.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
wow.
And we have the same discipline as a farmer. We get up early, we work late, and we are dreamers because
Mm,
you can't put on a uniform and end up on the other side of the world within 24 hours, not because you feel like you're Superman, but it's because we believe in what America can be.
mhm.
And farming is the same thing.
Yeah.
Who else can plant a seed and hope and wait on the premise that if I do everything right, that I can change my community? And that makes us the same, but it also gives us that extra stress that can be detrimental.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, I hear you. Well, with the work that you do on your farm, like your normal work day, what types of things in ag safety and health do you encounter in your role? And if you want to, any distinctions between a woman's experience of that that may be unique?
Yes. As a woman farmer, well, first, I begin my day with a gratitude moment.
Oh.
Before my feet hit the ground, I think of 3 things that I'm grateful for. So I can start my day out being grateful. And I tell folks in my workshops that one of those 3 things needs to be you. You need to be grateful for you and what you are doing in your community. I walk. By 7:30, I try to have at least 4 to 5,000 steps before I do anything else. And because my farm is in the infancy, I do a lot of planning and paperwork, so which means sitting.
Mhm.
But this year, I could not stand it, and I planted a the little garden, and I tend to it every day. And my property was row crops for almost 50 years. And it sat dormant for almost 10 before I bought it. So impacted soil and looking at what's growing and trying to make sure that it doesn't take over again because weeds and I have sweet gum trees that own every square inch of my
They
land.
do. Oh, they're so stingy.
They and resilient. They definitely have us beat with that. So I try to make sure that I am physically taking care of myself, with exercising and walking and taking care of my mind. And if I'm sitting at the computer doing something, I set my alarm so that I can get up and move and think about something else and eat right. It is so easy to grab a bag of chips and a pop and call it lunch and not put those things back in. So the chef part of me always is like, so we're not doing that sandwich unless you have some vegetables with it.
Uh-huh.
And part of the challenge of being new and not being able to get all the funding, a lot of these things, I had to shift how I grew a garden. I'm no-till.
Okay.
So that meant it was a lot of dirt and moving the bags and being cognizant of moving the bags so that I
Mhm.
didn't hurt myself.
Mm.
We did a video for UGA a couple of years ago, and I weed eated the area that we would be filming in for 2 weeks. Every muscle in my body ached to the point where I had to go get a steroid shot.
Oh,
And
wow.
that taught me then you've got to keep healthy.
Hmm. Hmm.
Using PPEs, I was reading, and I know I'm such a nerd. I was reading an article on women farmers and breast cancer.
Okay.
And they were talking about how a lot of us don't think about PPEs
Hmm.
because let's face it, most of them are not made for us.
Oh, yeah. Could you
So,
talk a little bit about that, Connie? I think, yes, please.
um, James Brown sing about it's a man's world. And in farming, in the military, in culinary arts, in farming, those are the principles that 90% of the people live by.
Hmm.
So in the military, we wore the guys' uniforms until they finally figured out that they didn't fit us correctly. Uh,
Hmm.
I was a cable installer, so I climbed telephone poles and they couldn't find boots small enough to fit me. So they had me stuff newspaper in the toes,
Oh,
which is a safety hazard
yes.
when you're 40 feet off the ground and your feet are numb because your shoes don't fit. Culinary arts, the chef jacket, this cut for a man, that's too wide in the shoulders. It's not wide enough in the chest. It definitely doesn't fit the hips right, and it's too long in the sleeves. So again, it's another safety hazard because when
Mm-hmm.
you're on a hot stove and that sleeve is on fire because it's too long,
Mm-hmm.
what's the difference in farming? Because the gloves are not made for our hands.
Yes.
The coveralls that you may don when you're mixing fertilizer is too big and too cumbersome. So you think it just takes me too long and I got to rig it up. So I'm only going to be here a second and I'll mix it up and do it. But what women don't realize is that little bit of time with that fertilizer exposes them to so many dynamics
Mm-hmm.
that show up in our body, um, from birth defects to the raised number of those of us that can be exposed to breast cancer, those that get it. And because of that exposure, it's more aggressive. And because of the true nature of farming, a lot of them don't have good health insurance. So there are so many things that may have been offset by taking the time to put on PPE, but it's again, it's shifting how people think
Mm-hmm.
and making them understand that these numbers are real. Your farm sisters are getting breast cancer at an alarming rate. So if you can mitigate that by putting on PPE, the mask or the gloves
That fit.
that fit,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
then we need to do it, which means it's having the conversation with the manufacturers.
Mhm.
Because I went and did a tractor refresher and had to get a step stool to get in the tractor.
Yep, the ergonomics, they're just not designed for women, are they? They're just not.
And so these are and even though they're real physically, no one thinks about what that does to you mentally.
Hmm.
Because if you step out of it wrong, you're hurt. Or you're
Hmm.
being particular because you're afraid of falling out when you try to step out. So
Hmm.
those are the dynamics that people don't talk about. And you'll hear when you mention it, they say, oh, the numbers aren't large enough. With 36% of producers, at some point, we've got to be worth it.
Right, right. And I'm so glad you brought up the clothing because some people might say, "Oh, well, so the clothing doesn't fit." But it's a safety issue,
It is.
and so what are we risking with our females with an injury? Let's say a piece of clothing gets caught in equipment, or you're not protected well enough. And AgriSafe, we have a lot of resources that we talk about the reproductive risk in women. And I'm saying reproductive, whether you're childbearing years all the way past menopause. So
Yeah.
that dynamic for women is really unique. And it gives them a lot to have to consider, especially those women that are of childbearing years. So
Yes.
wow, that's really great. What do you think? What do you think needs more? Now you talked about some that needs more attention, but what do you think in the health of women in agriculture needs more attention?
Um, I really think that we're going to have to start focusing on and making it an everyday conversation about mental wellness
Mhm.
and not mental health. Even though mental wellness falls under the mental health umbrella, we've got to start using mental wellness like we talk about physical wellness
Mhm.
and making sure that people understand what that means and how that affects your day to day, your tomorrow, your children, your community. So it's going in those spaces where people are. And I now live in rural Georgia. Love it. But there are things here that I could never get in the city and vice versa.
Mhm.
My stove blew up. I've just been in my house a little over a year and I bought a luxury stove and in less than a year it blew up.
Oh no.
They couldn't find a technician to come look at it. So they
Mhm.
had to replace the whole stove. And it's the same way with doctors in the rural communities and getting people to want to go and
Mhm.
building that trust and changing the dynamics of how we talk about mental wellness because the
Mhm.
body doesn't forget. The trauma stays and it shows up in other parts of the body, stiff muscles, torn muscles, um,
Mhm.
making mistakes. So we've got to figure out, again, it's got to be to the forefront. If it's the younger childbearing woman who's a farmer, what does that look like for her?
Mhm.
How do we go meet her where she is so that she's taken care of and give her a safe place to land that people understand, oh, she's doing all this, so let us support her, or she needs to do this. And finding those, we both know that it boils down to money, finding the money to be able to support her where she is. COVID brought to the forefront that a lot of people probably didn't think about is that the rural states didn't have internet service. So when the
Oh.
kids had to go home, it became a real struggle. And I know for the next 45 years, our children are going to be lagging behind because they did not have internet service to stay
Mhm.
current. And
Yeah.
the same thing with health. So somebody has to make it a priority. And I'll be on my soapbox talking about it until they do.
Oh, well, yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that about the broadband. And I know policy, they talk about that and it still needs to be talked about. It still needs to be improved. Not only access to maybe mental health services, but access to information for women farmers so that they can, you know, inform themselves about what their risks are, learn, do webinars, how to protect themselves from pesticides, all those things.
Yes,
Yeah.
all of it, all of it.
Yeah.
And trying to make sure that people, as I said earlier, it's dollars and cents.
Mm-hmm.
They changed the formula in some of the pesticides, so it's not as lethal.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it still affects us, whether we're breastfeeding or doing something else,
Mm-hmm.
how it's absorbed. And those of us that are military, we get double whammies because
Oh.
we have stuff that's service connected from
Mm-hmm.
serving that's now being added upon with what it takes to be a farmer. Um, Even if it's cattle, you're giving your animals their shots and you prick yourself.
Oh, yeah. Needle sticks. Yeah.
Yes. And
Mm-hmm.
and what that looks like and the safety of it. So
Yeah.
it's a lot, but we're here to stay.
Yeah. Well, you have said you have a unique experience because you're a veteran also. I think I'd like to ask you next, what advice would you have for veteran female farmers and just general, if you want, as well as how to pursue their own wellness. And, there's also some discussions, a lot of discussions about female veterans and veteran care access as well. So I'll let you take that.
Um, the first thing I would tell a woman that wants to be a farmer, whether she's a veteran or not, is to learn to be flexible, um, and know when it's time to pivot. Um, there's so much stigmatism behind being a female farmer that we feel like we've got to prove to the world that we can do it and that we can do it successfully and we've got to stay in this space, period. But that's not the case.
The superwoman syndrome. Yep.
Yeah. And to be able to, if it doesn't fit, let it go. Every
Let it go, everybody. Let it go.
Let it go. Because I promise you, I it took me 3 years to find my land. In those 3 years, I had been building relationships with my chef colleagues from Atlanta to Savannah because I knew I was growing culinary herbs. And when the pot of money dwindled and the labor force dwindled and gas went up, and I realized that the land that I had purchased needed work and implements, I was like, shift, figure out another means because you don't have to grow row crops to be a farmer. 30 acres of my land is going to be longleaf pines. I'm still a farmer.
Mhm.
And when people start realizing that farming does not just end and begin with cotton, peanuts, and row crops, people will find a way to do it. So I had to stand in the mirror flat-footed and say, you're not going to be able to do what you thought you were going to do. And it's okay. There is success in changing and going with what will work. Um, my knees are bad. I have rods and screws in my back and an artificial disc. So there are things that physically I can't do, even though I believe I'm superwoman sometimes. I'm learning to put that cape away or make it a tablecloth because women have to get out of their heads And again, go back to the why. If it's owning land, if it's changing the community, they have the opportunity to do that and the right to do it. So being flexible will change the stress that you have and allow you to go back and find your joy.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're saying you don't have to give up your dream, but you may have to shift your dream.
Yes, yes. The Air Force has a saying that nothing stays constant but change. And being able to pivot on the fly. And when we put our idea of success away and go with the joy of what we're doing, other windows will open up.
Mhm.
But we have to be open enough to see it.
Mhm.
So it's giving away those things that no longer serve us.
Mhm. I want to ask just real briefly because I'm curious. I had this question actually when I was in Georgia, but I didn't get a chance to ask you this. So, longleaf pine. So, you're a tree farmer too.
Yes,
And I know about longleaf pine. That is an investment, a long term investment in a
it
future.
is.
So,
It
can you
is.
just tell, share, what your plan is for that and the
Uh,
reason for that decision?
Another stress that I put on myself was building legacy. And just like a lot of farmers who take over family land, they have the stress of actually um, keeping it. And that same stress is my stress. Even though I'm the first one to have it, it is very stressful for me to be able to keep it. But I also know that when I'm gone, my ideals are gone with me. So putting the trees in allows the next generation to see something of me.
Mhm.
Uh, I may not have a lot of money to leave them, but investing in the longleaf pines, every time they look at it, they'll see me. And it allows me to be a good conservator of my land. They're cutting trees down on every spot there is. How are we going to get the oxygen? How are we going to clean the air without the trees? And I took it a step further. I have been researching native flowers that can grow next to the longleaf pines
Ah,
that
okay.
can withstand the fire that longleaf pines need in order to be successful.
Yes.
And on top of that, I am finishing up the plans to add bird viewing areas amongst the pines.
Oh,
So it brings people in and let them see the future that I have in my head, but it also gives me the opportunity to learn to do nothing, to just sit
mm-hmm.
amongst the trees.
Mm-hmm.
And in 10 to 15 years, when they've grown and they're hearing the wind in the longleaf pines, that's an experience that a lot of people don't get to have.
Yeah. 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 We've lost a lot of our longleaf pine and there was a lot in Georgia. So when I heard your selection, I was like, I've got to ask about that. We used to have a lot of longleaf in Louisiana too, but of course logging has removed a lot of that. So I thought it was really interesting that you're sort of going back to the way that the land used to be
Yes.
and counting on that longleaf pine to create also a sense of place and a sense of history.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, one last question, Connie. If you could go back, and I'll let you choose the number of years 10, 20, whatever, and give yourself health and safety advice, what would you say?
Maintain your health at whatever age it's good at. Because if you got bad health, it doesn't matter how many other problems you have. You can't buy it. You have to maintain it. So I would go back and I would go back to eating right and understanding the relationship between food and people. And we all grew up at grandma's table on Sunday with the family, and nobody understood then, or we refused to see it because it just was normal. But the food was the connection, it was the community, it brought families together, and it allowed us to eat better because it was done with love. So I would bring family meals back. I would say take care of your health because no matter how many problems you got, if you've got bad health, nothing else matters.
Health matters. Yeah,
A
that's,
million dollars is no good if you can't get up and go spend it.
yeah,
So
yeah, that's
it
great
is.
advice.
And then learning um, that mental wellness is a good thing. And that if I go get an annual physical, then I need to make sure that I am taking care of
Mhm.
my mental state as well.
Yeah. Well, Connie, this has been great. I was so excited when they asked me to talk to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Connie Baptiste, Georgia farmer, veteran, tree farmer, mental well-being warrior, community connector.
Yes.
I hope other people get a chance to cross your path like I have. Thank you so much.
Oh, the honor has been all mine, and
Okay.
I have been enjoying. And you know, I'm always just a phone call away for you.
I know.
So
It's great. Well,
that's
thank you
great.
so much.